Hi guys, hi everybody, welcome to Cat Tarot, welcome to my channel. My name is Kat. So let me start first of all with very short housekeeping. I'm on vacay from the 1st to the 7th, so upon my return I will address the readings in order, which will be first urgent, then rush, then regular. And I expect that you're still going to get within the time that you have ordered. So be careful with ordering basically urgent during that week. Also, I won't be able to be contacted, so all of the messages will be returned on the 8th. So guys, also don't forget to join social media, and also remember that I have live on Saturdays. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. During the summer months, it's going to be bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks is going to be live. Also, if you're part of my mailing list, which you can go on my website to kind of sign yourself on, then you can get some notification as well. So lastly, guys, if you're new here, welcome. And if there is anything that really resonates with you, one statement, two, whatever, usually not everything resonates because this is a general reading, but if anything resonates, that means that message was meant for you. I also suggest that you check not only your sun sign but also your ascendant and your moon. That's going to give you better kind of like triptych to kind of pull all of things together. So this month, because as probably you can hear, I have horrifying allergies, so it's really hard for me to talk. I'm going to kind of like be more focused, maybe really quick 10 minutes within what YouTube recommends. And I'm going to start with astrology because you really liked it last month, and I'm also going to combine with tarot. So let's do that. Alright, so the overview, astrological overview. The first significant astrologic event of July 2020 is a lunar eclipse, just like the previous month. Also, like the previous month, the eclipse happens on the 5th, but this time the sun-moon opposition is on the Cancer-Capricorn axis, which basically foretells certain situations, and they usually relate to career, or to home, or family. And these situations are either going to reach resolution or some kind of climax. So that keep that in mind, right? It's kind of like that huggy feeling, but it's also there is like an ambition connecting to it. So many of us might deal with events or situations that put our emotional maturity to the test. And this is like being like a little baby, kind of like, I want this, I want this. So, but if you catch yourself doing that, you go, oh, that's what it is. I'm not completely lost it, right? I didn't completely lose it, right? So many of us may deal kind of like with the situation that we will be tested if we have ability to persevere on our chosen path by honoring our families, but really also at the same time remaining independent from them. So in some cases, this energy of this lunar eclipse can spur an epiphany kind of related to how our families have shaped and influenced choices we have made in our lives, right? Lannister always pays his debts. It's kind of like something that family kind of like ingrained inside of us. So some of us might even decide to make significant changes when it comes to our career or the direction in which our lives were going. And we might actually also reach conclusion that we have been going by the desires of our parents instead of following our own star, following our own dreams. So maybe you want to look and transport yourself back 2 years, because there was like some kind of situation that started like 2 years ago, and now it's ending. It's making room for new directions to go in. So this sun-moon opposition happens around the lunar nodes, and they are situated on Gemini-Sagittarius axis, which suggests the need to free ourselves from that obsolete kind of thing. It's sort of like beliefs or dogmas and something we keep repeating, but it's kind of like you're wondering, like, how do I really connect with this, right? And especially if you have South Node in Sagittarius, which is kind of like being that master in the past life and now needing to communicate it in Gemini, right? So in order to embrace these new ideas, which is that North Node in Gemini, maybe it is a time to ask ourselves what really family means to us. what really happy family is. Hello? Anybody read Anna Karenina? And also whether we can regard society as a whole as a larger family, as part of which we all should contribute. So this guy is really age of Aquarius coming on. Everything that you're seeing outside, it's kind of need for equality. Sometimes the pendulum swings one way too much, but the whole point is understanding that we all want the same. You and the next person, you all want the same. You want happiness, you want love, you want peace. Yeah, maybe one person can have better shoes than the other one, but how important that really is, right? Because the circumstances that we are going to see on a social level can be a sort of a buildup of frustration, and that's why we see this manifestation of unrest, right? So until July 22nd, 2020, lots of twos, 222020, so 4 of them. The Sun transits Cancer. So that's basically also there's Mercury until July 12th. So this is kind of like we need to deal with that retrograde as well. So throughout the month, the Sun and Mercury are in opposition to these other retrograde planets from Capricorn. So like Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. So as a result, we will notice that it's not quite easy to find a balance between a private and professional lives. Many of us are working from home, and this could be pandemic kind of like imposed, or it could be that you're self-employed and you really have to figure out how to motivate yourself when you're sort of like not, especially if you're extrovert where you kind of like need other people, how to draw that energy when you're like kind of like withdrawn or secluded, right? So it might be tensions with family members or higher-ups, so kind of like no time to kind of like make these big waves, but discussions have a great chance of proving to be really productive, provided that we are patient enough. Cancer is one patient sign. So happy birthday, Cancers. If I'm forgetting to say that, it is your time, and it is really amazing how one sign can encompass both this like kind of come to my heart, come, and shrewdness about focusing and chasing your own goals. So let's go back also to that retrograde planets in Capricorn that are Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, but Mars is still in Aries, and this is its own domicile. So just think about you came home. You're not anymore at Aunt's house. You no longer have to dress for breakfast. You no longer kind of like have to comb your hair and everything. You can kick and do whatever you want, right? So as of the end of the previous month, 27th, and it has the opposite effect, right? So as a result, we are really confident in our own devices, and sometimes this is too much. You see people who you think like, oh, you really shouldn't be confident, but it's kind of like ultimately a good thing, because we all are kind of like walking that perch, and we all are going to face our own demons, so there is no need for us to correct anybody, right? And it's going to be really strong need for novelty and pioneering, and we might run into obsolete system. So I don't know, maybe your grandparents will want you to kind of like check their, what was this, like 8-track or something, kind of like hilarious. So kind of like, again, advice is just be patient, guys, in this situation. So keep in mind that, you know, during the near future, we can progress without keeping in mind the past, right? So for some of us, this might be a right time to resume some older projects that we have been postponing for whatever reason. So Mars is the one that gives us the desire to see this project through, and also gives us that dose of boldness which we have been missing in the past. So socially, however, there might be a buildup of frustrations and tensions that might trigger a conflict. It would be like, blah, like I always wanted to tell you, but blah, it's all out there, right? And so it can trigger that conflict, and it can blow up as of August 2020. That's when Mars will square with the planet situated in Capricorn, right? During this term, it's more important than ever to carefully weigh Our every decision, gesture, and word, whatever we're talking about love life, sex life, professional projects, your social life, whatever, right? We should always keep in mind the long-term consequences and even remember the mistakes of the past so we don't make them again. Yeah, we usually remember that later. So during this term, saving graces can be professionalism, a responsible attitude, all kind of like we have to thank to Cancer for teaching us all of that, and also the ability to come up with long-term strategies. We also shouldn't feel obligated to solve all issues at once or the same moment, the same day. So since Mars spends a lot of time in its domicile sign, so it's usually spending 6 weeks, and now it's spending whopping 6 months, right? It's going to be also in retrograde motion in September, in the fall, right? So everything we now initiate is likely to go through an ample process of remaking and redefining a couple of months from now, because that's what happens in retrograde. You're looking, like, did I switch the light off? Like, you're checking yourself a little bit, right? So do not rush it, right? Then we also have conjunction of Mars and Chiron, July 12th to 16th, which points out the fact that in some of our lives, some older issues and frustrations might come to light when we thought them long gone, right? We can make the most of the energy of this conjunction in order to become aware of the wounds that trigger an aggressive self-defense mechanism. Conjunction means they're really, really close, right? 2 degrees close. So almost like in the sky, they look like they're hugging, kind of a thing, right? So this is also kind of like finding a way toward healing. And by doing that, again, as I said, we are all connected. You have to keep others in mind too, right? So don't kind of like think, well, I got hurt, I'm going to make you suffer as well. That's not going to work unless you want to kind of bring some really negative karma points on you, right? So Mars also, because now we have Mars in Aries and Venus in Gemini, so very flirty, very aggressive, right? So socially, it's going to be kind of like bursting. It's going to be open and it's going to be daring, and maybe getting a chance to build new connections. I guess stay safe as I'm saying this, but this simply many of us will forget that kind of like word of caution, right? So the effects of the Mars-Venus combo also mean good news for those who are involved in older or even newer relationships, because they can easily kind of like evade the day-to-day rut and come up with really smart comeback that create a desire for flirting and goofing around, right? It's like usually when we really need to say something, clever, like we get stuck and then we say something boring and go, I had this opportunity. Why did I kind of like lose it, right? Also keeping in mind that at the same time, possessive or codependent people, or some of those people who decide, nope, I'm not going to change. Oh, sweet negative me, I'm going to be the switch, what it is. They're going to feel completely out of base. They're going to feel really weirded out. It's going to be really super easy to spot them, almost as if all the lights are shining on them, and not in a good way, right? Because the energy of this term favors relationships in which partners know how to allow each other space and freedom of thought, right? So that's much so far, guys, and let's go in the individual signs and see how, in addition, that spiritually Libra, and welcome to your July forecast. So let's see what Tarot has in store for you. I already shuffled the cards, but just like a few more motions before we start. So my dear Libra, the bottom of the deck is the Sun reversed. You also have Hermit. Whether or not it's upright or reversed, the Sun is always the Sun. It's always the center. It's always that cushion. And if you live in Northern Hemisphere, I have to tell you, sometimes it's too much of the Sun. when it can be scorching, it can kind of like make things not grow. So when sun is reversed, it's really interesting. It's going toward the night, which we kind of like see it in the stage. It's kind of like feeling some kind of like cool off, feeling some kind of like, it's kind of interesting. It's one is 9. It's almost like kind of like taking a step back, which kind of like can make sense during Mercury retrograde, as a situation maybe can reoccur. But there is like also saying, 2 major arcanas, that you have really received wisdom in some kind of situation, which is really, really important. So here you have 5 of Swords and the Tower reversed. And I have just done, basically because I'm going to be on vacation, my dailies for the next 7 days, and Tower appears 3 times. It was like, whoa, what's going on? And I better get an extra tire and all about a whole bunch of stuff, because look, it is telling you that maybe some path of thinking, I want something, I am going in this direction. There are like people that have been injured in the situation, that people who might look, they're connected, but they're not necessarily kind of like connected by a hip. They appear to be very, very different. But nonetheless, you felt some sense of victory. You felt that you're really going in this new direction. But look at it, 16 and 5 is connecting to 21, which is the World card, which is kind of like talking about something needing to kind of like take a new turn, needing to kind of like go in a new phase. And the Tower is suggesting, look, if you don't do it on your own, some kind of like shakedown has to happen. I believe last month it was something that I've seen that it kind of like some equalizing needs to take place, either confessing or something. And this could be relating to this, right? Am I in the light, am I in the dark? About that, it's going to feel all the time that you will want to push your own agenda, but somebody's going to kind of like pull the carpet underneath your feet. Tower is not pleasant, but it's not a bad card, because it's unpleasant while we are going through that, but the changes that happen and result out of it means kind of like repositioning, means reshuffling, means like, the things are finally done, faced, done properly, kind of going in a new direction. Then you have this Page of Cups, Knave of Chalices, and this is absolutely lovely card. It's kind of like lovely energy of some possibly love interest emerging. You might be reaching out yourself. So try to kind of like, it's kind of weird. This is the Mars energy. Mars is going to really dominate you this month. So be careful if you want to engage in any anger. It might not end up well for you. Meanwhile, if you kind of like go with this kind and innocent attitude, things can have completely different outcome. And then we have another Page of Pentacles in the past. Maybe you wanted something to happen. Maybe you have been building some kind of foundations, and those foundations maybe never materialized, or they're like moving so slow. You're saying to yourself, what? Maybe you have met somebody, and then maybe like this whole pandemic lockdown happened and not much happened, and FaceTime is not necessarily the best possible place to date. You kind of like, the whole point of dating is like smells and touch and fluttering your eyelashes, batting your eyelashes, and kind of like that's the point. And you are like very, very flirty sign, and maybe this kind of like, it means that you're continuously going between your light and dark side. It's kind of like that shuffle that is happening over here. And then you have like the King of Swords, which kind of like, it's, look at the butterfly. It's talking about the truth will set you free. It's kind of like you need to speak what it is, but this is also the card of the ultimate fairness. Nothing but fairness would do. If something is not right, and this is kind of like your card, you're like the sign that is ruled with this Justice card, which is a karmic card, which means that every day of your life you need to put things in balance. When things are out of balance, if you did it, they will come in balance. Justice is always served. even if you get away with this, even if somebody harms you, it's going to make up for it. Kind of like that's kind of the role, to understand that fluctuating ways of how justice works. There is like the Six of Pentacles. It's maybe that you need some kind of help. It is mirroring this Page of Pentacles. This is the card of give and take of the process. When we engage with the universe, sometimes some people are very stingy or very careful with their money, and they just put it all to themselves. And then they're wondering how come they're not moving forward. Maybe they're moving forward on the sheer level of they're attacking everything aside, but that money is somehow not growing. While the other people, even if they're not doing well, they're somehow getting by anyway. It is basically that energy of the universe that we kind of have to engage. Otherwise, we are suffocating in their own space, right? So here is like basically talking about this engagement as well, that if we do not show our own goodwill, if we do not show that we can give and that we can kind of like have this energy moving, then also why the universe would let us receive. Remember, balance, that's your card. Always the scale has to be in balance. This is also connecting with this love interest, right? It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to move to the door number 2 and we'll forget about the door number 1 and door number 3. No, these doors will always be present, and they will affect this door number 2 if this is not resolved properly and it's not balanced. But look, this is going to be a month to celebrate. You will pamper yourself. You'll feel comfort. You kind of like are going to have carefree attitude that I see over here, right? You might be family oriented. You might be dealing with your parents, or you might be dealing with children, especially with a son, if you have one. And it's going to be quite a bit of importance, right? So now we have 2 9s, which again, I'm telling you, for a while, it seems like there's like something that needs to be resolved. And it's really, really asking of you to do it. But it kind of like feels that you're in a really comfort situation, that maybe you're not looking in the past, just like what we see in your opening credits here. There is like your environment, and you have the Hierophant, and Hierophant is really talking about the rules, and that can be the law, that can be the church, that can be your employer, right? Somebody is asking, like, look, come before me, I will tell you. This is not so much the rule where you see the judge. This is more about morality and ethics. Have you been doing the right thing? Because you're air sign. As an air sign, I mean, you are kind of like really asked to kind of like balance those scales of justice. And sometimes you absorb also things from the other people. And that's why this tower, kind of like, why did I step into that boo-boo kind of a thing, right? Your hopes and fears is the Lover's card. This is really interesting. So there is this Mars over here that I'm seeing, which feels everybody's going to feel more aggressive. Everybody will want what they want. And here you have emergence of some energy. So there's somebody coming through. You need to kind of like really find a way. Maybe you're not connecting with this person because person is not out there. Person is not going to be wooed with you. Person is not going to do anything other than it's going to be nice and, let's say, engaging conversation. You might also have a person who, let's say, have quite a bit, maybe has money, has a business, and you're not going to feel intimidated by that at all. But you're going to feel, oh, cool, you know, that's kind of going to be of some kind of benefit to me. You're going to assume that you're going to be treated very well, and you will be treated very well. But do not be foolish. Do not take this person for granted. This is just one of those challenges that you really need to kind of like look into that, because your sign continuously you get lessons, and every lesson is you need to resolve them, kind of like to put things in place and in balance, right? So the Lovers card is talking about these choices, and it's not having the scale, but it having this like two sides that kind of like always there's like a dark and a light, and we see the same motive over here, we see the same motive over here, so we see the same motive over here. So you guys, you need to face your dark side. Let it go. This is a good time to let it go. The sun is the best disinfectant. Go outside, spend some time outside, speak your truth, even if it's only in a diary. If somebody corners you with something, just basically be as candid as you can be, because things are going to really work out. And look at this, King of Wands. Their rewards. You're having a lots of fixedness. They're like fixed signs. It's a Taurus, it's a Leo, it's Aquarius over here that I'm seeing. Maybe maybe you have been this is usually talking about needing some kind of structure, where things are basically asked, where details are being asked in order for something to be stabilized, because you are starting this month, the gate is opening with destabilization, with things kind of like getting out of place, with things kind of getting kind of like completely out of hand, right? So certain things by the end of the month need to be stabilized, need to kind of like really grow. So it's going from the Page to the King, which means it's kind of like you're seeing the bigger scope of a person, you're seeing what can be done. But keep in mind that looks to me that you want to be pampered, and you don't expect to be pampered, but this person also expects to be pampered. So that's the riddle you have to figure out. How do we make it go with both of us getting benefit out of it, versus me kind of like always giving, or him or her always be giving? Because this card is telling me that there is a one-way street only, which needs to be resolved. So you see this like 2 6s. It's a soulmate, guys. It's a soulmate coming through. So don't let things, almost like I'm seeing that you might want to present yourself in a different light. You need to be who you are. You need to feel comfort, you need to be happy. This is what this person is attracted to. But this person is also attracted to a person, because look at this, both of them are looking that way. They're looking in the past. They will check you out. They will check the things from your past. So you really need to kind of like deal with anything. And maybe you have been wronged. Maybe you have lost the faith in yourself. Maybe you have, you're looking for your own, let's say, wisdom. So that's also something you need to apply, so you will not allow the codependency to kick in, that you feel that you're wrapping yourself around someone and they are not reciprocating. So this is kind of like the message of this month. So fairness abounds. So you're going to be challenged, and I believe, guys, you're going to pass the test. So if there's like somebody new, try to have a completely different method. Try to kind of like see how do you make it work, because this can be very serious in a good way. So my dear Libra, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I get comments from you. And if you want a reading with me, you can reach out through cattarot.ca website. And I hope to talk to you soon. Love you.